about how to read the 4-week at-home conditioning plan that you have in front of you here. So first thing to make note of, you'll see right here we have an ideal week listed out. So again, this was created with the mindset that your main focus is the conditioning piece of things. Again, this is just an example of a week that you could utilize with some strength work and active recovery, some stretching work, but it's not the be-all end-all. That could change and look different for you. It's just an example of something that you can use to provide some structure to your week of training. Below that, you'll see we have a perceived exertion chart. So the ideal way to go about this conditioning plan would be with a heart rate monitor. Now, not everyone has access to one or has one. So what we did is we listed here a perceived exertion chart, and then within the specific conditioning days, I gave examples of the intensity that you want to be working at. So again, just a chance for you to say, hey, I don't have a heart rate monitor, but here's what I want to be working through. So again, listed above is kind of what a week might look like for you, and then an exertion intensity level in case you don't have a heart rate monitor. If you scroll down a little bit further, this will be the structure that you see for each specific conditioning day. So there's really 3 things I want you to make note of. There's a work interval for each day, which I'm circling with the mouse. There's a rest interval, and then there's the total time, which just gives you the total amount of work that you're going to be completing. So the work interval is really what we could call like the actual conditioning piece. That's when you're going through the whole conditioning process. And you'll see within that work interval box that I've listed, okay, the total time that you're working, but also if you do have a heart rate monitor, what percentage of your heart rate max that you want to be working at. And I do the same thing for the rest interval as well. And the total time is, again, is how many sets you're working through of that specific work to rest interval. So in this case, we have 8 minutes of work, and we're shooting to get up to 85 to 90% heart rate max. Our rest would be 4 minutes, and we're trying to get that heart rate to drop. And then we'd be doing 4 total rounds of that entire time. Now below that, you'll see I listed some example methods you could use. You could run, you could bike, you could row. And then for those of you that don't have a heart rate monitor, I listed the intensity. So the work interval, we want to be at about an 8 to 9 intensity based on what we looked and see here above. For the rest interval, we want to try to get that down to a 3 or 4. So that's going to be, in this case, probably some easy, light walking. And then finally, I list some notes. So the ideal in the work interval, that's 8 minutes of work. Some people want to run that entire time or might want to bike or row. But for those of us that don't want to do that, I listed just some example circuits. So those notes are just some thoughts on my end and some things that you can do. Again, that doesn't have to be what you do, that specific circuit. If there's some other things you want to add in, please feel free to use your creativity and what you want to do with the mindset of the work interval and the rest interval is the objective that we want to complete. And you'll see here as you scroll down, you'll see all of week 1, the 3 days within week 1, and then you'll see we move into week 2 as well. And there's varying work to rest intervals, and pay attention to the total time that we're working through. So again, just to kind of recap, if you go to the top, here would be a good week of conditioning, not the ideal week, but something you can shoot for. If you don't have a heart rate monitor, use the perceived exertion chart to understand what intensity you're trying to hit the work interval at. And then just pay attention to, okay, how long am I actually going through this work interval? How long am I resting? Is it a true stationary rest, or am I actually doing some light work? So in this case, 4 minutes of walking. And then what's the total time that I'm working through? And just pay attention to notes if you want some different ideas around how you complete that circuit or anything else along those lines. Let us know any questions, and we'll see you guys soon.